right, Nick, let's talk about the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins made a move this week that I think is really interesting. Actually, two moves, in fact, that I think are really interesting. But you have to take in context some of the, information that Bill Belichick let out in his Pat McAfee interview that I'll let you get to kind of bring this story full circle. But first of all, let's look at the move that the Dolphins made this week. Get into the article and we'll talk more about it on the other side. This from NBC Sports and says the Dolphins made an addition to their defense and special teams on Wednesday. The team announced the signing of linebacker Cam Brown to their 90-man roster. They did not disclose any terms of the deal. Brown was a 2020 6th-round pick of the Giants. He spent the last 4 years with the team. He only played 103 snaps on defense, but he racked up 1,328 snaps on special teams and was one of the team's captains on special teams. The Dolphins also signed former Bills special teamer Sirianni Neal as a free agent this offseason. Both players should have a prominent role in the kicking game if they make it to the 53 roster in Miami. Nick, I think these are two really interesting moves. I think these could pay off big time for the Dolphins if everything goes right. I'm curious what your thoughts are, but Dolphins fans, in the comment section below, the draft is upon us. We're getting very close, just basically a week and some change away now. But before we get into the draft, and we're all excited about what they are going to do, let's take a look back on some past mistakes the Dolphins might have made in the draft. And let us know in the comments below, who do you think is the Dolphins' biggest draft bust of all time? I think there's some interesting answers there. Let us know what you have in the comment section below. But Nick, what are your thoughts on this latest two moves potentially by the Patriots?
Well, look, when I saw the Cam Brown signing come across the wire, I was like, what is this? This just feels like kind of a nothing burger. And then, like you alluded to in the opening, that, hey, Bill Belichick had some interesting comments on the McAfee show when he was talking about when he was asked about the changes in the special teams rules and how the kickoff and kickoff return is back into the game because of the new rules and because the kickoff and kickoff return team are set up differently. It's a lot less running. They're all kind of stationary right there. The kickoff team is already going to be across midfield. So what Belichick said, and I think it's really insightful, and I think this is what teams are starting to recognize, is that gone are the days where your special teams has to rely on smaller, faster players, right? Receivers, cornerbacks, safeties, right? Because you had to cover a lot of ground. It makes sense you wanted smaller, faster players. But because special teams is getting more condensed, you want to get a little bit bigger. And that's why I think the addition of Cam Brown to help improve the special teams is a huge kind of sneaky good move from the Miami Dolphins. And it's not going to make the headlines. It's not going to make, no one's going to talk about it on the shows on ESPN or Fox Sports. But the reality is these kind of moves, when you add them together over the course of an offseason, they can make a difference, right? And if you look at the Dolphins 2023 season, one or two special teams plays was the difference that the season didn't end completely different. You look at that Kansas City Chiefs defeat overseas, one score game. If you get a big kickoff return, or maybe if you a big punt return, you could win that game, right? The game completely is different. You look at the Buffalo Bills game at the end of the regular season. If you do a little bit better on special teams, I think you win that game, right? And if you win just one of those two games, right, the whole dynamic shifts. Suddenly, you're at home in the playoffs hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers, who you probably beat by 20 points. And then you don't have to go to Kansas City in the divisional round for frigid temperatures. Kansas City has to come to you in Miami, completely different environment, completely different feel, right? We forget so much, and I know it's a cliche, but it really is forgotten, is that special teams is 1/3 of the game. And over the past half decade or so, because of how the kickoffs have gone, people have completely forgotten about it. This year is going to be so different. The kickoff coverage and kickoff return is going to be critical, and having guys that can block on kickoff return and having guys that can cover, that are bigger, stronger, or can fight off those blocks easier, like a guy like Brown here, I think this could be one of those moves that gives the Dolphins just that key piece on special teams that'll help prevent the big play like what happened against Buffalo, and maybe help generate a big play like could have happened against Kansas City. And all the Dolphins are looking for, right, when you're a contender, which Miami obviously is, you're just looking for maybe one more win at a key time to improve your playoff seeding, to win the division, to put yourself in a good position for the postseason. The Dolphins have had to go on the road the past couple seasons, whether it's to Buffalo, to Kansas City. If they can get a home playoff game, and I think some more special teams help will get them in that direction, they could be a dangerous team and make a very serious run.
Yeah, Nick. And by all accounts, the Dolphins are a fantastic team. If you look at PFF grades, second overall team in the NFL last year, third best offense, fourth best defense. Except when it comes to special teams, they downright stink. 29th ranked special teams by PFF last year. What better opportunity? It is hard to come up from 29th. You maybe get up, I'd say, in the low teens. You could maybe like do a whole bunch of, new coaching, new players in the old way, and just maybe you get up to like 19th special teams. You're not going to jump that high. But when you are gifted an opportunity of the special teams itself, that as a whole flipped on its head, completely different ball game out there. No one has adapted to it yet. If you're one of the first teams to come out and adapt, this is a way that you can quickly get yourself from worst to first in a matter of speaking. 29th isn't worse, but it's pretty darn bad. I think you get yourself up there, and like you said, this is the and the numbers don't lie. You said it perfectly, Nick. This is the difference in the Dolphins winning and losing key games last year. If you come up in your top 10 in special teams instead of being 29th in special teams, you're winning just a couple more games a year, and that is what makes deeper playoff runs. I think this is a beautiful foresight by the Dolphins to go ahead and get someone who is a special teams pro. He wouldn't have been the captain for the special teams for the Giants if he wasn't good. This is a guy who has a ton of experience on special teams, and like you said, this is going to be critical going forward with the game changing. A different breed of special teams player is needed, and Brown fits that bill. I think this is beautiful by the Dolphins, and I'm really excited to see how their special teams ranking goes up next year.